Local and live, covering Franklin and Washington counties, it's Let's Talk Tristate with Tiny and Katie.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Tri-State, all powered by Home Right Windows and Doors in Waynesboro, the right choice winner in the 2024 Best of the Tri-State Awards. Joining us now is Tim Stenger. He is the president of Premier HVAC Services. Tim, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. It is awesome to be here. We are approaching, as a matter of fact, we are in this. This week is some record cold that we're having. We're in the mid to low teens. And now's the time where HVAC is probably about as important as the opposite when we're in the dog days of summer and we need the AC on, and now we need the heat. So when it comes to Premier HVAC Services, take us through that. How long have you been involved with that company and all the way from the beginning to where we are now?
Yeah, so originally I got into the HVAC business in about 25 years ago.
Okay.
Started through the career tech here in Chambersburg and pursued that through college, through HVAC program, and went ahead and worked for a couple different companies, and ultimately found myself wanting to start my own business, which I did back in 2012.
Okay.
So we've been growing strong since then. Gaining more and more knowledge. More and more skilled people to help out and be able to go out there, get into homes, take care of issues. All your heating and cooling. All of those things.
Now, let me ask you this so I don't forget. Are you in need of service techs? Are you hiring? Are you always looking for someone?
Yeah, we're always going to be looking for top talent. That's what we're looking for. These days it's hard to come by.
Yeah.
There's.
Why is that though?
Yeah, without getting too deep into it, the blue collar trades had kind of taken a bad rap for a little while,
Okay.
and so there's a kind of a hole, in generational hole there where a lot of people just weren't going and pursuing those type of positions.
Yeah. The skilled trades, as it were.
The skilled trades, yeah. So, more recently, it's coming to light. There's a lot of folks that are retiring and getting out of the blue collar trades, and there haven't been a lot of people that were stepping in to take that place.
Yeah.
It can be difficult. It can be challenging. It's a very unique trade to be in. It's tough work. It's out in some harsh conditions. Very cold, very hot conditions. Hands-on, and you got to be very skilled in many areas. It's not just putting your hands on equipment and changing parts, and
Sure.
It's talking to customers and being able to solve the customer solutions or problems with
Right.
solutions.
Well, it's one of those businesses where the company takes the business to the client,
Yeah.
as opposed to the client traveling to the business.
Yep. Yeah. So you're out. It's not like you're always around a full team of support directly with you. We do have a great team that does support each other and work with each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're in a van and you're out going into customers' homes, and it's always something new. It's not repetitive. It's you're always looking for different things, and every unique scenario is different.
And that it absolutely is. So I think when we all think of HVAC, we think of the heating, cooling, but what services do you provide? Is it just service calls? Is it installation? Do you do vent work? Take us through what Premier HVAC offers.
Yeah, so all of the above plus some.
Okay.
Pretty much anything you can think of regarding heating or cooling, we're able to take care of. So it's mainly in residential and then some small commercial applications we deal with. But mainly our key is to focus on homeowners and their unique challenges and overcoming those. So.
Okay.
Whether it's having a heating or a cooling malfunction that needs addressed right away, we have emergency service that we can respond techs out to, get those problems resolved, and then of course replacement equipment. So equipment breaks down, it becomes old, and things happen. New efficiencies and new technologies and things take its place. So we're able to provide multiple solutions for replacement options as well as new installations. If you may not have heating, or most people have heating,
right?
But a lot of people still don't have cooling in certain homes. So we have solutions for that as well with a new installation with air conditioning, and mostly your we call air-to-air, but we also deal with hydronics, which is boiler systems, hot water. So we also do some water heating solutions that kind of tie in with that.
Okay. So almost a little bit of plumbing, if you.
A little bit of plumbing, yeah. Mainly when it deals with either heating or hot water, then we're able to jump in there and find a solution for that as well.
Okay, very good. So if I need a hot water heater replaced, that is a service that you would offer, not just coincidental that you could take care of it.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah.
Great.
And there's many options even when it comes to water heaters.
Sure.
Most people don't think of it as something with different options. It
Yeah.
seems to be cut and dry, but no, with new technologies around, there's tankless options.
Yeah.
There's heat pump options. There's a lot of great incentives for higher efficiency options like that as well.
Okay. Now, when it comes to Premier HVAC, we have a lot of brands that are available in the market for our heating and cooling systems. Do you handle service and installation on all of them?
Yeah, so we'll be able to work on any brand that's out there. There's a handful that we kind of specialize in and deal with more closely, but we can work with any brand. We can support anybody's warranty. So if somebody else installed it, that's no problem. We'll be able to work on it. We'll be able to honor the manufacturer's warranty, be able to process those and take care of any things that come up as far as that goes.
Okay, we hear a lot of. I'm a big YouTube watcher, and coincidentally, we're obviously on YouTube right now. But one of the things that I love watching are people who are converting vans, who are taking and doing the tiny homes. Now, I personally have no desire to do that, but I love watching it. And you'll also see folks who are renovating older homes, and there's just not space to run new ductwork or ductwork, as it were, and they opt for mini splits. That's something you can also help with?
Yeah, it's a very popular option. It's becoming more and more mainstream. It was different. It was a change at first. A lot of people didn't like the look and feel of that, but honestly, it's a very, very good solution when it comes to not being super invasive in the house of running big ducts and having to cover them. Cut into closets and rooms and bulkheads, and these units are extremely efficient. You have control over each and every individual area, so rather than having like one main control in your home and every room is at its mercy, each of those units inside has its own temperature control.
Right, and it's usually controlled by an app now.
Yeah. A lot of them you can even control via app. That's right.
And I know a lot of folks didn't want the big unit hanging on the wall, but see, now they have ones where they fit nicely between the ceiling, the joists, and just right in there.
Yep, there's what you would see as your what we call high walls, where they're visible on the wall. There's ones now that they tuck into the ceiling. Others that are kind of more of a floor model where they're kind of low on the wall. So there's even options for ducting or tying multiple units together. So it's a very very comprehensive solution. Lots of options.
And are you getting a lot of calls for those?
We do. We put in quite a few of those.
Really? What's the typical? So I know what I see on YouTube, but around here, what is the typical reason, I guess you would say, that someone is opting for that solution?
Yeah. So typically, that is a solution for someone who might not have ductwork, right? So ductwork it can be large. It has to be ran the whole way through the house. So if it's not existing, it becomes very challenging, invasive into the home, taking up space. Can also be very, very labor intensive, so it can get expensive. So this is a great solution to be able to provide, cooling into the home without having to do full out duct system and cut all through the house and have all that expense.
Do they also offer heating options as well?
They
heating
do.
And cooling?
Those units both heat and cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that's pretty much a standard thing.
That's a standard thing. They are what they call heat pumps, and they are designed to be very efficient and be able to produce nice heat at a low temperature.
Okay.
So what we find is a lot of people are going to that option, and they're utilizing them to replace, say, a hot water baseboard system or an electric heat baseboard system, which are rather expensive to operate in cost, in terms of your bills to heat the home.
Right.
These units can be 3 or 4 times more efficient, so it can really reduce the utilities. Also, add some central air to the house because these systems not having ductwork. Adding central air to the house, doing away with window units, which are also bulky and
Yeah.
expensive and loud to
Can't set
operate.
anything in front of them. Can't get close to them.
Yep.
Same thing with the baseboard heat. The baseboard heat, aside from the fact that the proximity you're supposed to have things to them, the curtains, the furniture, which is obvious, but it's also very drying. It is a very dry heat, and I used to live in a house that had that. I was thankful for heat, but my goodness, it was dry in there, man. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, it
but
makes a difference.
With these options, they seem like they're almost like every 6 months to a year, there's some other innovation when it comes to this. I mean, central air has been what it has been for years. It's ductwork, it's the big unit outside, and if you have vents, that's what you're going to have. If you have the ductwork, that's what you'll have.
Yep.
But with these, I don't know where and how and if this affects the future of air conditioning and heating as it pertains to people who have ductwork. But I'm sure the innovations that they're making with these mini split systems you're seeing some bleed over into this is standard in-home systems, right?
Yeah, so we're putting quite a few of these systems in for people who even have ductwork.
Okay.
Particularly if it's not, if the home's not very well balanced. It's not uncommon to have an upstairs that gets super hot in the summertime.
Yep.
It might stay cold in the wintertime.
I'm going to pause you for just a second. You're talking about my house.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So this was a question I was going to ask you, and you're about to answer it. I know. So please continue.
Yeah. No. Super common for that to be the case. In older homes, it was a matter of the ducts were designed for heating. So they would pump a lot of hot air into the downstairs, and then kind of hope that it goes upstairs, right? Heat rise. So, but those duct systems weren't designed for cooling. Where the upstairs is naturally going to be warmer, it's going to need more air. It's going to be the reverse, more air upstairs in the summertime.
Right.
So, we have a lot of people that are using the ductless units as a solution to put additional heating and cooling just in an upstairs.
Okay.
To supplement maybe what the existing system is doing for the downstairs.
So what I have is, and very similar to what you're talking about, I don't necessarily find that so we finished our basement out. It's a home that not even 10 years old right now. The basement is always cool, even obviously in the wintertime.
Yep.
It's cool. Now we have vents. When we did it, we tied into the current system.
Okay.
The problem is that I believe, and you would be able to speak more intelligently about this, that everything is being based off the temperature upstairs. So once the upstairs hits the whatever you set on the thermostat, regardless of whether downstairs has hit that yet, that I think that's the issue. Is that something people are using these mini splits for, or what is another option? Because I've heard different people tell me different things.
Yeah, that's another very good usage for the ductless mini splits. Is people will put them in their basements, and you're exactly right. Is you've got one system that's doing 2 floors. Mm-hmm. Well, they're 2 totally different climate zones.
Yeah.
That upstairs, it's not below grade. It's not below the surface. Mm-hmm. So it's getting exposure to heat and cold on the outside walls, and so it has different requirements for when it needs to heat or cool. And if that's where your control's located, then that's the zone it's going to focus on. It has no idea what's going on in the basement.
Right.
Whether it needs heating or doesn't need. It's going to run regardless based upon what's going on upstairs.
Okay.
So downstairs, you can add a ductless unit that will allow you to control that down there and keep your specific whatever temperature you like to keep there.
If you don't opt for the ductless, is there a component that can be added onto a current system? Because I can't imagine that I'm unique in this situation that I'm describing. Is there something else? Is there another solution?
There is. So it's called zoning. So your ductwork, since you have ductwork there, and if it's split up to where it's able to, distribute air onto one floor and to another floor separately, mm-hmm. You can put in zone controls. So dampers that open, close, then they're tied into a thermostat in each zone that will allow that equipment to push air to one or the other,
okay,
depending on the demands in each.
Gotcha.
It gets a little bit more tricky. It's a little more difficult than just throwing that in there and calling it a day. Some equipment is capable of it, some is not.
Right.
Some ductwork is laid out to where you can do that, some not. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things that kind of have to line up in order for that to work out well.
If that does. So if it's a best case scenario for, let's just say you come and see my house and everything is your equipment will work with it, your duct workers run perfectly, everything lines up well. What would you say is the more affordable and the more preferable option?
Yeah, there's going to be some variables there as well. As far as cost goes, as long as it's fairly straightforward, the zoning is probably a little bit less, but a lot of things have to align.
Sure.
Right? The ductwork, the equipment,
Yep.
all those sort of things. Everything has to be accessible. A lot of basements get finished off and things are drywalled over so you can get to them.
Sure.
So, as long as you don't have to go tearing things apart, then it can be a fairly easy solution.
Okay.
But a lot of things have to line up.
Right.
And then with your ductless solution, probably going to be a little bit more, depending on if it's one big open area, you can typically get away with one unit there.
Yep.
If you are, if you have multiple rooms kind of split up, if you really want complete control over each area, you end up with multiple indoor units. So the price is going to go up a bit.
Gotcha. Okay. Very good. So what are your service areas, Tim?
So we service pretty much all of Franklin County. Right now we're sitting in Greencastle, right? That's where our home base is here. So we pretty much travel about a 45-minute drive radius. So we'll cover up to, say, Shippensburg area, and we're going over to Carroll Valley, Fairfield. To our west, we're over in McConnellsburg and surrounding areas. And then we'll do the majority of Washington County as well in Maryland.
Very good. And now, how about financing? Because we're talking about it can get kind of pricey here. So what, if any, financing options do you offer at Premier HVAC?
Yeah, we offer different financing options depending on what everybody's looking for. We try to, have an affordable solution for, anything that we put out there. So it can be as little as a repair on the unit can be financed as little as $500. So $500 and up. If it's a repair for a furnace or air conditioner that's existing, we can even finance that. And then it goes all the way up to your replacement equipment, new equipment, and they're quite a wide range of pricing. But we have either 0% financing for those that are looking to utilize other people's money, as we like to call it, or we have a longer term, low fixed rate that offers a nice, affordable monthly payment.
Okay. And what are we looking for this time of year? This will be the last question that I'll ask you. This time of year, obviously, super cold. In a cold snap right now as we speak. So what am I looking for performance-wise? What should I notice if something, I would say, you know what, that just might not be right? Because I think a lot of times what we do is, I'm guilty of this, we tend to tell ourselves, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Because it seems like this insurmountable task to get something like that fixed. Obviously it isn't, but we all worry about that. So what would be the key markers that, hey, you might want to get that thing checked right now?
Yeah, so a couple key things to keep an eye out for. If your furnace is, if it's making a weird noise, if it's not keeping up to the thermostat temperature you have it set to, these are some pretty easy indicators. Most people, if you've been in your house for a little while, you know how your system operates and how it should feel and how it should sound. If something's off, most likely something's not quite right. So it's best to be proactive. Get it checked out before it completely fails out. Or before you find out that there's a bigger issue that might be maybe costing me huge electric bills. Right. So that would be another thing to look for is, especially if you have a heat pump system, right? So a heat pump system is all electric and it operates off of using the refrigerant that does your cooling to do your heating. Well, there's an emergency backup heat in that system that will kick on as needed when it's cold, or if the heat pump is not functioning properly.
Right.
So if the heat pump's not functioning properly, you may not even notice it because the emergency heat's going to come on. It's going to keep the temperature up in the house. It's going to keep you warm. Your first place you're going to notice is in your electric bill. And you see, whoa, where did this come from?
Yeah.
Don't key into the dollar amount. It's more the usage amount. And typically, if you look at your usage amount on your electric bill, it'll say, hey, here's what you used last year. and you can compare it to this year. If it's a good bit higher, there's probably a problem going on.
Very good.
So that's a good thing to to indicate there's something happening behind the scenes that you want to get checked out.
I think it's also, you could say, I've always said, but my doctors told me before, when it comes to your body, no one knows your body better than you.
Yep.
So when something's wrong, you're going to know it. It's either something wrong or there isn't. Same thing a mechanic will tell you, well, hey, no one knows your car better than you. And I think with this as well, to your point early on, is you probably are going to notice if something's off.
Yep.
It's just going to bear itself out. You know your house, you know your system. You may not know how to replace it, you may not know how to work on it, but you certainly will know if it's just not living up to what it typically does. And that's happened to me a couple times. And I've just, my wife noticed one time, and I noticed this most recent one. I'm just like, it just doesn't feel like it's warming, it's heating like it should. And to your point, the emergency heat was kicking on. Luckily, I noticed it. We had blown a fuse, and I was able to get it repaired. Now, it wasn't ultimately just the fuse that was blowing. There was a reason the fuse was blowing,
Right.
of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did get it fixed. So we've been talking with Tim Stenger. He's the president owner of Premier HVAC Services. Tim, love to have you back on Let's Talk Tri-State, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We will be right back with more Let's Talk Tri-State, powered by Legends Bar in Chambersburg. Satisfy your sports fix at Legends Bar with game day specials and cold brews, Hollywell Avenue in Chambersburg.
Let's talk Tri-State.
If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Tri-State, call 717-597-9200 or email letstalk@921thegoat.com.